The next step, step 4, is doing, like, practicing a back handspring on the trainer. There's different sizes. You can use whichever one works for your kids depending on like what level and how tall they are. But for this, it's really just kind of like rolling, getting their shoulders down, and kicking their feet. Brooks, that was really good. Nice. So for this, it's best to start from the floor. And usually I like to use one that's slightly bigger than what the kids would usually use, just because it forces them to really jump, and that helps a lot. But otherwise, you don't have to do that. It's just a way, if your kids aren't jumping, to kind of force them to. Here, Brooks, on the floor real quick. May I be trusted? So, yeah, so just starting from the floor and jumping into it. So try and jump backwards, and then, yeah, Julia, for this one I want you to really try and jump backwards, okay? Nice. So, for this, it's making sure that they don't crumble onto the floor. You want them to really kick their legs back. You want their legs to be straight, like that. You want their arms to be straight. You don't want any of this, and you don't want, when they land, you don't want their legs to kind of be super spread out or really wonky. Here, do you want to, Juliet, do you want to show me a really bad one where you kind of land with your legs bent and spread? Yeah. You can show it too. Yep. So you want to make sure that your kids have their legs straight, and then just kind of kick them over. You can help them with that. So here, Brooks, Julia, you can go once, and then Brooks, I'm gonna help me out real quick. So Brooks, I'm gonna kind of just spot you on this one, all right? So for spotting, I usually like to kind of roll this a bit if they can't jump all the way, but also I like to help and get their legs straight, hold a little bit by the shoulders, and then help them kind of kick their legs. Oh my goodness, crumbled a bit, but that's okay. So having them kick their legs down, you went fast, that was good. But yeah, I usually like to put one hand kind of on the back of the knee, one hand on the shoulder if they need spotting on this. Like, usually they don't, but just in case. But yeah, keeping their arms straight, legs straight. It's the same thing as the hollow jump, where they keep their whole body super tight, and then just jumping backwards. The next step is, I like to really focus on the positions so that they're not kind of doing the steps wrong, and just making sure that they have all the steps right, because it's really 3 steps that go into it. So the best way to teach it is using ABC, because there's 3 different positions that they should do. So starting with A, Juliet can see it. Yep. So A is where they have their legs together, arms up, straight. You can have them do the diamond shape too. Juliet's doing that right here. But yeah, you can have them do the diamond shape, just having their whole body super straight and tight. And then from there, they swing their arms down and go to position B. This one is where their legs are slightly bent. They still have their chest up. You don't want them to throw their chest down. So Julia, I want you to show that, where you have your chest down. Yeah, so you don't want them to be facing downwards like this. You want them to keep their body still up, even when they're in this B position. So you want their arms to go slightly back behind them, and their legs to be bent with their feet together. And that's position B. And then, yep, for position C. Yep. So for position C, it's basically the same as position A, where they bring their hands back from here, back up, and their whole body is tight. For the back handspring, usually you don't want your kids to be super arched, and you don't want their back to be flat, because either one of those, if their back is too like bent and they're kind of in like a super like C shape, they'll kind of flop. And then if they're flat, like just completely like a board, that will kind of prevent them from being able to really snap and get kind of the whole motion down. But yeah, the final step, it's just doing their back handspring. However, there are certain progressions on where they should be doing it. So the first one is going down a wedge mat like this one. So for basically every single spot, you should be putting your hand on their back and like the back of their knee. Sometimes, in some cases, you'll need to kind of have your hand a little bit higher up if they're not able to push through their shoulders. So I like to hold them a bit to make sure they're not crumbling as they go back onto their hands.
Cool.
Perfect. All right, and then do one without. Awesome. After doing it, going down a wedge mat, they should be doing it on the tumble track. So this one is the exact same thing. So Juliet, see it. Nice. And then over here, sometimes you can do it going off of the tumble track. You want to make sure that there's not really much of a gap, because otherwise if this mat is pushed out super far and they're putting like their hands down there and then their feet are up on here, that can kind of throw it off a lot. So Juliet, see it? Very nice. As a spotter, I like to stay, depending on how well they can do it, if the kid is relatively strong enough to mostly do it on their own, you can stay a bit farther and kind of give them a lighter spot. But if they really need it, you can move forward a bit and really like get more of your arm on their back. And same thing back here, you can kind of try and get both legs and really push them back. But then when you're doing them, you don't want to be super close, because if I'm kind of more right here, she could either swing and hit me with her hands or she would kick me. So usually trying to stay more to the side, not really behind them. And then if you need to, yep, just putting your arm more around and then kind of grabbing more on the other side. Otherwise, hand just in the middle of the back, but you can really grab around either one. Either one works. It kind of just depends on how well your kid can do back handspring. You're going to swing your arms and you're going to jump back. Not like that. The next place your kids should be doing a back handspring is on an 8-inch mat like this, or you can get like a 4-inch mat. It really kind of depends on how comfortable your kids are, because if they really are worried about like smacking the ground, or you're worried about them smacking the ground, you can use an 8-inch, but otherwise just a 4 and 8-inch is the next step. Okay, so after they do it on the 4 or 8-inch, then you should have them doing it on a panel mat. It doesn't really matter if this is on spring floor or on like a dead floor. You can just have them doing it on here. Make sure you lay the panel mat out all the way, and then that's really it. And then you can have them try and, for this, you can have them kind of stretch out their back handspring and try and go from one end to the other end. The last place that they should do their back handspring is just on a spring floor, either up like on the tumble deck or over by the pit strip where we usually have our stations. So either there's space over there at the pit strip, or you can kind of move stuff around and clear off the space, just as long as you have enough room so that other kids aren't getting kicked if you're trying to do them. But yeah, and then after that, if there's a space open where you can do it on a normal floor that doesn't have springs or anything under it, that can be good. But really, a spring floor is usually going to be the last step, especially since we don't usually use anything that doesn't have springs.